In this video, I'll be going over the affixes for the raids in Season 4 of Shadowlands. So for those of you who aren't aware, in Season 4 of Shadowlands, Blizzard is kind of doing a little bit of a redux kind of season, where all previous raids of Shadowlands, so Castle Nathria, Sanctum Domination, and Sepultura, the first ones, are kind of on a rotating schedule, where each week one of them has a higher eye level that can drop, as well as having some new affixes that affect bosses, and these kind of change how things work. And, you do these raids each week, it'll rotate to the next one, you can get that loot from there, but at a higher eye level. So, I think it's a pretty cool system overall. They're also bringing back some old dungeons, which I'll cover in a separate video. But, recently we actually just got updated versions of the 4 affixes on the PTR, and these look much more final than the first ones. And they all kind of, they're all kind of like your general mechanics, right? Like there's an interrupt one. There's a barrier you have to break. There's a bunch of ads with AoE down, and then there's one where you have to, there's a dispel one, I believe. Yeah, there's one that you dispel, and then, you all have to, like, soak some things that spawn on the ground. It's kind of like, mythic sludge fist pillars or whatever. So, these 4 things, we don't know how they're going to look on bosses yet, but I imagine that one or multiple of them will be present on each boss, and it'll kind of just change how things work. And they're all kind of kiss-curse, right? Like, you do something, then you get a benefit. Anyway, so the 4 of them are Chaotic Essence, Creation Spark, Protoform Barrier, and Reconfiguration Emitter. So I'll just be going over each one individually and give my thoughts on it. So the first one is Chaotic Essence, and Chaotic Essence reads as, it summons a Chaotic Essence which casts Chaotic Destruction, which inflicts cosmic damage to all players if successful, so you basically have to cast it. You have to kick it. Upon interaction, the essence becomes hostile and instead continually manifests motes. So these motes are little ads that channel small cosmic damage onto a player every half second for 3 seconds. And whenever you kill those small motes, they split into further motes. So after 15 seconds, everything dissipates and everybody gets 2% damage increase, 2% healing increase, and a 2% increase to absorbs for 25 seconds for each chaotic mote slain. So basically this one summons one bigger ad that casts something you have to interact with, and then whenever you interact with it or stop it, it splits into a bunch of smaller ones, and you just basically have to AoE all the smaller ones as they like continuously channel. So you want to stun them, you want to kill them all, and then when you kill them, they split into more. And then at the end of 15 seconds, after you kill the initial big ad, all the small ones go away as well, and everybody gets 2% damage done, 2% healing, and 2% absorbs for each one you kill. So this one's pretty interesting. It depends how far it spawns from the boss, right? Like, or if they're able to be gripped. Like, if you can just kill a bunch of these and then Gorfians grip them onto the tank or onto the boss and just AoE down, it seems like a great way of getting fun on the bosses. Seems like a great way of getting big AoE numbers. Seems like, and just with, I don't know how much health they have. That's not aware, but I imagine they'll be kind of small little things. So killing them to get a 2% increased damage done should be pretty doable. You probably get something around the lines of 25 to 30% damage increase, which is great. So I think this one seems pretty fun. It seems pretty easy to deal with as well, depending on how spread out the ads are. But this is a pretty interesting one, pretty simple one. But I like it. I like all of them. I think this will be fun. I think an issue that this could happen is on some bosses where positioning is super important, right? Like maybe, or something with like a lot of movement. Like if this boss shows up on, I don't know, like Stone Legion Generals or like on Painsmith or something like that, where you don't really have like a lot of damage going out and it's kind of hard to deal with things already. Then it'd be pretty interesting to see like how much damage these deal and how spread out they get. But I think it'll be a fun challenge that gives a good benefit when you do it properly. Before we get to the next affix, I just want to say that most of the people who watch my channel aren't subscribed. In fact, only 4% of my viewers are actually subscribed. So if you're liking what you're seeing, please consider hitting the subscribe button. It really helps me out, and like the video. Thank you. So the next one is Creation Spark. Creation Spark reads as, it charges a player, which inflicts 3 cosmic damage for 1 second. Every 1 second for 30 seconds. Which stacks. And when you remove it, which I imagine is just a dispel, it creates creation sparks in nearby locations, which infuses players within however many yards of the impact, increasing their haste by 10%, casting speed by 10%, attack speed by 10%, cooldown rate by 10%, and periodic tick rate by 10%. Also movement speed by 10% for 20 seconds. And it stacks. However, if this impacts ground with nobody present, everybody gets dealt damage for a huge cosmic dot. So this one's pretty simple as well. This just seems like a dispel. So you want to stagger these dispels. Hopefully get your top players into those soaks, and they just get massive 10% casting, attack speed, cooldown, recharge rate, and tick rate increase for 20 seconds by 10%. Its stacking is pretty big, which means that let's say you have like 1 Gigapumper, you should be able to ideally move them into each round so that they get multiple overlapping effects of this, and you probably want to kind of stagger them so that as the first one's about to end, the group can pick up the next set so that it kind of stacks and keeps going. Because I imagine it refreshes because it doesn't mention that it doesn't. But this one's also fairly easy. I imagine it's going to be multiple dispels goes out at once, and the best way to deal with this is to go to one location, dispel the first person, they all get it, and then you wait maybe 10 seconds, dispel the next person, then wait like 5 seconds, dispel the next person. So I think that'd be a good way of doing it. I think this is pretty interesting. Again, this is like movement requirements. So this will be interesting on stuff where your movement is limited or there's already soaks happening. So stuff like the 9, stuff like Enerva, Darkthane, stuff like Sludge Fist maybe, where you can't really go that far. Stuff like, not a lot of soaks in Sepulcher. But yeah, stuff like that where you're kind of limited on where you can move and what you can do. So I think that'd be this would be a pretty cool one as well. And the increase here is pretty big. Cooldown, recharge, casting attack, and tick rate is a very large increase. It's much more than you'd think on the first glance, just like how WoW has taught us. So this one's gonna be pretty cool. All right, so the third of the fated powers or the affixes is Protoform Barrier. Protoform Barrier empowers the caster, inflicting 1 cosmic damage to all players every 3 seconds. So this is like a shield that goes in the boss or on whatever ad this gets put on. Whenever you move the barrier, it manifests as an attackable ad, which casts a shared 400 absorb shield with all other enemies for 15 seconds. Basically means you have to break the shield again. A second unit also manifests that can be healed to reduce the shared shield. Whenever the barrier expires, it explodes and deals damage to everybody, so you don't want that to happen, so you have to break it. However, if you break the barrier, the effect backfires, so every damage you deal to the barrier gets dealt back to the casters. And then all players get up to 25% increased damage done, 25% healing done, 20% increased absorbs done for 40 seconds. I imagine this is just how quickly you break the barrier. So this is an easy one again. Break a barrier, spawns an ad that has another barrier, break that barrier. Deals damage to everything, and then you get damage increase. Pretty big damage increase. 25% isn't nothing. But again, like this, it's just a simple little twist to the bosses we've already known. This one could be interesting. So there's some bosses with vulnerability phases, specifically Sludge Fist. So if the shield happens during a vulnerability phase, you're a little upset at that. Likewise, if the shield happens during an immunity phase, like Zymox or Painsmith when he jumps away, there could be some interesting things with that, but I imagine they're going to be changed so that like it can't happen during that. But this is a very easy one. Kill thing gives you bonus, you hit boss harder, so cool. Alright, so the last one is Reconfiguration Emitter. What this does is it spawns an ad or manifests an attackable enemy, which continuously casts, and you can't actually deal damage until you interrupt the first cast or the first cast goes off. Successful casts deal a medium amount of cosmic damage to all players, and every few seconds the caster gains 5% increased damage done, which stacks. Whenever you interrupt the cast, it deals probably about 1/6 of the cosmic damage to all the players, and whenever you defeat the ad, all the players get infused with power based on the energy level of the emitter. So it increases mastery by up to, it says 10, but that will change on each class. Critical strike chance by up to 10%, versatility by up to 10%, and avoidance by up to 8. So I assume the avoidance number will also change. So basically, this summons an ad that deals damage to the raid. Think like in Lords of Dread, little ad that spawns there, how it has to hit everybody and then can be dealt damage. So you interrupt the first ad, you interrupt the first cast, so the first cast goes off, and then you can damage the enemy. And each successful cast deals more damage to the raid. However, whenever you kill it, you get a stronger increase based on the amount of stacks the ad has. Now, I don't know how many scales off of what. I don't know how many stacks you need for the full 10% increase. But the play here seems to be, like, you obviously want to kick it because it deals a 6 less damage whenever you kick it. But the stacks gain no matter if you kick it or not. So the play here is to kind of stack as high as you possibly can. Maybe bring it low and then let it stack a little bit. And then kill it so you get the 10% buff. For buff-wise, I think... Well, the verse is nice, and the critical strike chance and mastery are all nice. A 10% increase in those is less than the others, but it's a much more larger survivability increase. Again, this is just raid-wide damage, so if this comes out during a phase with really high raid-wide damage, Sludge Fist, Painsmith, stuff like that. Stuff where, healers are having a hard time already to keep up. Then I could see some issues coming up here. But it seems pretty easy. Just kick it every time you can. Let it stack a few times before killing it, and then kill it, and you get your benefit. But it's a pretty good way of just kind of adding this little funky spice to a raid boss, and I think it'll be interesting to see how it works into the fights we already know. So those are the 4 affixes coming to the new raids in Season 4. I'm pretty excited to get back into some of the old raids, go back to Castle Nathria. I think that was a great one, and kind of just see how these different powers kind of change up the raid fights people know. The damage amps, I think, will make these really fun. You do the mechanic properly, you get a massive damage amp, and you can just blast the boss. Otherwise, I think it'd be, kind of boring just going back and doing the old raids we've done already, just with a higher eye level. So I'm hopeful that this kind of mixes things up and makes for a fun season. So thanks for watching. I'll have more content over the next few weeks covering Season 4 and Dragonflight, and see you around.